What's up, guys? Austin Blankenship, Rack City MTG, coming at you with another Modern League video. I sat down today. Be honest, I've been watching some playoff football tonight on a Monday night. And it's not. I'm root for the Buccaneers typically, and they're playing the Cowboys, and thus far, it's not going great. So I could use a little bit of distraction right now. Wanted to play a little bit Magic. Thought, well, I'll put the TV on mute, so if I get quiet for a minute or anything like that, you'll know what I'm doing. I'm probably reacting to what I'm seeing on the big screen in front of me. But obviously, when I play, I'm going to try to be as locked in as I can. What I sat down and thought about doing today, and I've been thinking about it for a while, is having an updated list of what I would take to a competitive Magic tournament today. Um, I don't know if that list. Sorry, my cat was wanting to jump up beside me here. I don't know some of the nuances of what I would do quite yet, but two things that I really wanted to focus on and that I would be trying at like the F&M level, uh, given the opportunity, is one that I'm not doing today is experimenting with cutting Raven's Crime completely from the deck if we're talking strictly for competitive reasons. And two, playing less copies of the rack. I'm going with two copies of the rack because I want to be able to play around removal just a bit better. But really, we might be in a situation where if we are just a mono black Urza Saga control deck that has one of the rack as a way to close out the game with Liliana, that might be better for us as far as like if you want to see rack like putting up competitive finishes in the top tier decks. Now, obviously, for my personal deck that I'm going to take the F and M, I'm going to be running more traditional rack than I am reducing the rack numbers, just because it's more fun for me to play that the true rack style of Magic. But I do consider this still a rack deck. We're running two racks, even not just one, and the four Urza sagas. One of the things you'll notice there's two Nihil Spellbombs. I have the Hex Parasite main deck right now, and I've been debating on whether or not I want to move this to the sideboard. But the card in favor of like another Murderous Rider or one of Plague Engineer. But for now, for this league, we're going to keep it. I think we're already locked in. Uh, but one of the things you'll notice as well is that this was not intentional. The entire main deck of what I thought would be the best main deck just so happened to work with Obosh as companion. Uh, not running the smallpoxes because I think that smallpox is meta dependent, and if you're expecting like a litany of uh, hammer time, well, really, it's not even that great against hammer time, but specifically decks where smallpox is going to be good against, which is getting fewer in modern than it was at one point, and that it hurts us less. I think that we're better off just setting that card aside for now completely. And one of the other cards I've kind of set aside is also Mishra's Factory. I don't think that there's as much of a need in this specific build because we have access to Obosh and I'm running two Murderous Riders and the giant Saga tokens. We have enough creatures that die to smallpox. I think that maybe we don't want to run that. And Mishra's Factory, I think I just would rather have the consistent black mana all the time. Uh, Two of the changes that you'll also notice are I'm running, I believe, just five fetch lands. I thought about going up to six or seven, but I think five's a good number. It's just more ways to trigger revolt on Fatal Push. It's a little bit more relevant today to do that than maybe it has been in years past. There's still Fatal Push still kills the Ragavan, DRC, Ledger Shredder, and a lot of those cards, which is the primary reason. But just being able to guarantee to kill griefs in response to undying target triggers and things of that nature. I think that overall it's it's just better to have a couple more ways to revolt Fatal Push in the deck. The only downside is it does make you a bit weaker to Blood Moon than those cards just being swamps. But I think at the end of the day, it's worth it. What you'll find interesting is in many of our sideboard matchups, or in many of our sideboard cards, we'll lose Obosh as a companion, right? Because we'll have the Void Mirrors. Those are just some extra work against primarily the Living Index, but also Rhinos and the various Zoo decks that might run the Cascade cards without running without necessarily the payoff being Rhinos. Maybe it could be going into Tribal Flames. Well, it's mostly Rhinos living in, right? Like it could be a few things that can randomly hose Etron or Tron players without green lands if we don't have an Urborg. So you bring it in for those, but it's primarily extra hate for living in that also gets Rhinos. We're not at the point where I think we want to run Legion's End back in the deck, but it's something to consider. Because we don't have Smallpox, I am running 3 Sudden Edicts in the sideboard as well, because I think having access to 2 mana Edict, specifically, this one's the best one against Murktide, against counterspell decks, and against Yawgmoth and things like that, where they can't just decide to go off in response that they lose whatever creature it is. Of course, that if they do try to, or you can just pull off some tricks where, like the first sack on their of their young wolf or something, that you can eliminate their combo potential. It's better in certain niche scenarios than something like a Geth's Verdict is if you don't want to sacrifice your own land or own creatures. Good magic card. Smallpox is powerful, but I think in this current meta, I'm going to shelf it for now. And you'll find that I think that a few of the cards, if we want Rack to keep evolving and keep putting up results, we might have to look at running less of the traditional cards. Like we've been kind of cool with cutting Mutavault now that Mishra's Factory is here, and really Urza Saga's even supplanted the Mishra's Factory, and we've been cool with. For most people have been cool with cutting Shrieking Affliction. Some people still run it. It's a good card. I mean, it's still you can build the deck in a way that it runs that. A lot of people are in favor of cutting Smallpox in general and have been for a long time. I think that it's meta dependent, but I do think that with Urza Saga, it's just you're so mana hungry all the time that Smallpox never feels as good as it used to when your entire deck was basically one drops. I guess really the only other cards, Relic of Progenitus, I just decided with these over ley lines just because I am running double. Oh, sorry, that's the second Pithing Needle. If you watch my channel, you know about that. Relic, um, shoo, it's just if we sideboarded that in and don't want to sideboard out the Void Mirrors or in the Void Mirrors for whatever reason, in that corner case scenario, and they're better with the Saga tokens, that it just gives us more flexibility. They'll probably come out almost one for one with the Raven's Crime, and then maybe an extra Pithing Needle or maybe something else coming in favor of that. Of course, the 2 Karns, I really love Karn, the way it plays with Saga tokens. Keeps on that general effect of creating those. I don't know the best way. I mean, this is why they got the nickname Karnstrucks, is because of Karn Scion of Urza. But those creature effects that like they get bigger for each creature on the battlefield collectively. It just helps with the snowballiness of Urza Saga. I think it's a pretty powerful effect overall. I do think Obosh is worth the sideboard slot when we can keep Obosh. We have the choice to juke out of it. Tourach is simply for decks that run white. Usually it's Hammer Time specifically. That's when we really don't care about Obosh as it gets Hammer Time. So we bring Tourach in. We may bring Sudden Edict in. We're all in at making sure that they really excuse me, sorry, are really we're playing to the board. The game doesn't end against Hammer Time with us having cards of or wishing we had more cards in hand very often. It's just like if we get to the point where they don't have any cards in hand, we don't have any cards in hand. That's usually when we win. We're not worried about like, oh, we need to have extra things to do with Obosh or this or that. The other thing you'll notice, I'm going to try all four March of Wretched Sorrows this league, and I've talked quite a bit at the beginning here. I may either cut this out or I'll put a timestamp here at the beginning to let you skip this. But March of Wretched Sorrow, I've just found it really good once we get in those top deck modes where our Inquisitions and our Thoughtseizes are dead, and then it's a good because it hits Planeswalkers as well. It's a good removal spell on top of that. Let's quit talking. Let's just go ahead and start playing our league. I've talked enough. Yeah, I have watched. Well, I won't talk about the football game going on in front of me too much. I promise that wasn't what was causing the distractions this time. By the way, this whole league, we are going to take the play. That's something else I want to try. I like this hand. I think that we can kind of hide the fact that we're rack for a couple turns with these fetch lands. We have the Urza Saga that can get our rack effect. And we have Raven's Crime for some inevitability. We do have one swamp that doesn't match at all in there. I do need to go through, be a little bit sharper on my deck lists. All right, so we have Swift Spear, Rift Bolt. It looks like we're probably taking. With their specific hand, I do think we take Swift Spear over Goblin Guide just because I would almost take the Goblin Guide because Swift Spear has a pretty high likelihood of only dealing one damage a turn. But I think the ability to potentially draw us a card, I'm fine with that with Goblin Guide hitting in here. And believe it or not, this is my favorite Goblin Guide art. When I first started playing Burn, back when, that was the art and the playmat that I used. Murderous Rider is going to be interesting here. Let's play the Urborg. We're in a weird spot too with this Searing Blaze. About whether or not we want a Murderous Rider as a creature at all to give them a target for that. Okay, they got rid of their Searing Blaze, so they actually solved that problem for us. Thank you, opponent. At this point, they probably have us pretty firmly on the rack if they're discarding a Searing Blaze. Okay. Hopefully, this Goblin Guy draws us another card. Okay, so we know that Swiss Spear was the top deck. Okay, the rack entered the revealed zone, so they know what we're up to. Interestingly enough here, I think we play Murderous Rider as a creature. I think this has the highest upside. This completely stonewalls their attack if they don't hit a land for one turn. Or they could just hit a bolt, obviously, land or bolt. But even a land doesn't necessarily get them out of the spot. My cat's being extra. Oh, they did hit bolt, which that's fine. Take 4. We do draw a card. The good thing about Urborg and fetch lands is in this specific spot, we can choose not to sacrifice them. Bolt was the one card that punished that line. I do think we make the Saga token and block the Goblin Guide no matter what this turn. Could be an argument for just casting another Murderous Rider. Okay, there's the land. They got rid of one Searing Blaze. We know about the Goblin Guide here, and we know about one Skewer the Critics. So we know that there's a second Skewer the Critics in hand, and a Rift Bolt that they can suspend, and we don't know what the third card is, as they played the land. Yeah, because we've only revealed their hand to us once. All right, opponent's on the attack. At this point, we'll go ahead and get more information for ourselves. So the March of Wretched Sorrow, oh, that's huge. Huge game for us. Does the opponent have? They could have. They could have another bolt potentially. Um, I don't think they do though. I think they would have bolted the construct token and never let us block to begin with, had they had that. What this turn's probably going to look like is we're going to get Shadowspear. So that's suspended Rift Bolt. Okay, no, they're just skewering us. Okay. Well, they suspended Rift Bolt before they attacked. Got it. I think we can win because I did move a Shadowspear to the main deck as part of what I was doing a little bit differently. So now we really get to see a few cards that, maybe typically we wouldn't, see perform really well in this spot, perform well. And that's, we're going to march this, and we're going to go ahead and exile the Murderous Rider to guarantee getting this value. Okay, yeah, and so I guess this is tough, right? Because I do think we want to just leave this 1 mana open for the Nihil Spellbomb to get this out of the Rift Bolt range so that we can play the Shadowspear. So we get the March. We're not going to crack this. We might, if we think we're very safe, we might crack it at our upkeep. But now our Construct token is unrift boltable. I mean, they can Rift Bolt it. They could double if they wanted to, of course. Like, waste 2 removal spells on it, but I'm okay with that as well. So they just send it at me. So at this point, yeah, I'm thinking about it more. I don't think we're safe to crack our fetch just in case of Boros Charm. Okay, Eidolon. Oh, well, now we are safe to crack our fetch. Interesting. I don't think we want to, though. I think we just... maybe we do in this spot. I'm not sure. I do think we win this race pretty easy, though. So 1 hit, we're back to 10. And then they're taking 3 a turn. Let me turn off my auto yield so I can put this Obosh in hand. Okay, we'll put Obosh in hand. See what I mean with like Obosh just giving you so much extra to do with your mana? He doesn't double the... He does double the rack trigger next turn, but he doesn't double the constructs damage. I don't see any card that they have in their deck that could get them out of this spot. I'd be pretty shocked. March is such a good Magic card, guys. I genuinely was not sold on this for the longest time, but I mean it's just it wins games so much and adds that little extra flair. That last video I made with where it was specifically Obosh, March plus Obosh was really the 2 things that I thought were that's what the deck is going to be maybe going forward here, is finding ways to accommodate those 2 cards because of how flexible this card is, and just having that extra body. We definitely put it in hand, Obosh in hand at least, way more than most people who run Giganta and things like that. So against Burn specifically, I do think we actually do want the Tourach in, and we want to lose our Obosh. And I think that's okay. We want to get rid of our Nihil Spellbombs. I do think we want to get rid of our Hex Parasites. I know it does seem odd for Tourach to be in, but a lot of their removal is like Path to Exile, things like that. And it's just an extra body to put a Shadowspear on. Speaking of which, there might be. Let me look. Let's go down to Thoughtseizes. Let's get the Thoughtseizes out completely. We should have enough good cards to bring in. We'll keep the Hex Parasite for now, and we'll bring in the 3 Sudden Edicts. And then there's a 60 card deck that looks pretty good. You could argue to bring in the Karn Scion, but I don't think that's necessary at the moment. Maybe if we're on the play, we bring in Karn. But at turn 4, it's just not going to be relevant. This is a mistake on my end of keeping the Pithing Needle in. That basically makes this a mulligan of a hand. I don't think Like Pithing Needle is probably incrementally better than like because it could name Rolling Vortex or Sunbaked Canyon. This one's tough. I think we mulligan the sand. I don't think it does enough. I do think we can keep this hand. Just because we have ways to keep from taking damage early, some interaction, and then a way to get some threats in the Shadowspear. Hopefully this is Goblin Guide. I'd rather it be Goblin Guide than Swiftspear. Oh, it's just Rift Bolt. That's okay as well. In that case, I do think we just play the Rack this turn to guarantee the use of our mana. Because how our turn's going to look like probably is play Bloodstained Mire, hold up Sudden Edict, Fatal Push next turn. So we really want to make bodies for this Saga token. So we could play this Saga token on 2. Maybe that's what we do instead of trying to play it on 3 to make Liliana castable. Maybe we just pretend like this Liliana's not even in our hand. It all depends on what they play as well, though. Keep in mind, we're much less concerned about the damage they can deal to us, or excuse me, the damage we deal to them, opposed to the damage they deal to us. Yeah, this looks pretty cleanly that they have nothing, um, like creature wise. This game, if they had an Eidolon, I don't know why they wouldn't slam it. Even if they could skull crack this turn maybe, but I don't see that being too relevant. Like Boros Charm's probably more likely, or like maybe it's a Lightning Helix. Boros Charm, okay. We'll probably at some point have the plan of discarding this Bloodstained Mire. That is like, it is funny that the one deck in the format that's really not particularly popular right now, we are kind of getting punished for running the fetch lands, but it shouldn't matter too much against burn typically. It's like we either get way out ahead and it's not close like last game, or it's close. Okay, they have nullified our removal. Oh, this is great. Urborg's a great draw. Urborg allows us to safely play this Bloodstained Mire as a mana source later. Okay, let's see. Just gonna bolt us. That's fine. I wouldn't be surprised if there's not a shatter effect or something like that. I'd be a little bit surprised that they're not using it on the rack, but the rack's not put them under any sort of pressure yet. They're probably saving it specifically for a construct or a Shadowspear. Okay. Opponent seems to be thinking about doing something in their second main. They probably don't realize they have a stop in their second main. Just want to keep playing at instant speed. Tricky spot here. You see what I mean, though? Of like, Pithing Needle is not completely dead against them. Turning off Sunbaked Canyon is actually very relevant in this matchup. On video before it's won me games. Just blindly doing that. It can, and Rolling Vortex is the other card. If you are planning on gaining life, that if you Pithing Needle that card, it's pretty big. Yeah, just waiting on our opponent. They probably don't know that they have priority. Maybe, okay, there's the Rolling Vortex. Look at that. How did we know? The question now is, do we Pithing Needle the Vortex, or do we get the Shadowspear? Hmm. I think that's the only two correct answers. Expedition map or Hex Parasite, I guess, maybe. Hex Parasite's interesting too, and so is the rack, but it's between Hex Parasite, Pithing Needle, Shadowspear. I do actually think we want a Pithing Needle with a Rolling Vortex. Oh, sorry, it's Roiling Vortex. I was like, well, I know I knew we had named, I knew it had a name. Looks like it's on the battlefield. I knew it wasn't too far off. Let's see, we can deal 4. March would be a fantastic draw for us. They may have sideboarded some of their creatures out just to play around our removal a little bit better. That wouldn't surprise me too much. Right now, they're in a pretty precarious spot. I think that we technically have lethal if they don't. If they one, if they don't kill us. 2, they don't have a life gain or a. Okay, so lava spike. I mean, they might just run off 3 bolts here and us die. Skewer. We have the 3rd bolt. Yep, they just had the 3 bolts, so that's okay. We played that correctly. Like we wouldn't have gained any life anyway that turn, and they would have been dead the following turn. So play versus draw game. Hopefully, we'll be on the play the last game. Hopefully, that makes a difference. I am leaving the Pithing Needle in for that rolling vortex, by the way, now that we especially know that we've seen it. Like, being able to name that with the Pithing Needle is actually, like, a little bit better than you would think. It doesn't... It didn't come up as a game-winning option this game. This is tough. I think we mulligan the sand. We can't go that long without doing anything. I also think we mulligan the sand. Maybe we don't. I think we do. Like we have to have interaction. Okay, I mean this is once again a god awful hand, but like it's just we can't mulligan really much farther past 5. Well, we might lose this game just from like not drawing any of our 20 to 30 1 mana interactive spells outside of just 1 apiece that this game thus far. We have lost our Obosh. Okay, Swift Spear, it's fine. Hopefully they don't have. Okay. Oh, this is a tough spot. I think we do just crack this for Urza Saga at the end of their turn. That's tough though, because like if we just top deck a land, I would have rather have played the Tourach. This is also a spot where like having Blast Zone would feel really nice. Okay. So they went from 0 creatures last game to all the creatures this game. Let's see what's on top. Okay, we do get the land off the top, so a little bit punished for our decision. Uh, Once again, it's a tough spot here. Uh, so this is interesting. This is not a line that I was initially like considering at all. But I'm gonna play the Tourach, then play the Raven's Crime. So Tourach can't be Lightning Helix, which is good. And it can't be Path to Exile, anything like that. It's not the best card in this spot. I don't think we're on the Saga token gameplay in this game. Tough for us, though. We really need a more reliable way to gain life. If they don't kill our Tourach and we decide not to trade it, then we have to consider getting the Shadowspear off this Urza Saga later. Because Tourach obviously can get huge. Hitting a land off the draw of a Goblin Guide and our Tourach not dying would be great because next turn we could maybe play a land, Raven's Crime, Liliana. Okay. So we did hit the land. This is a tough decision. So if they cast 2 spells at instant speed, like if they have Bolt Bolt, Tourach blocking the Swift Spear is bad. But if they don't, I think that's a good block. Even just 1. I mean, they might just. Okay, well, just 1's fine. Destructive Revelry. Okay. That's a little bit tilt because it does kill our enchantment here. I would prefer no land drop, but like at the same time, I kind of want them to have a land drop because that means that they don't have just straight gas in hand. This game's been tricky. You know, them blowing up our land there, having a stone rain is maybe one of the better things that could have happened for them because it just eliminates so many of our lines here. So I think we play this as a creature again, which just feels horrible, obviously, but it's just where we're at. They had the hate card this game, which going back to when you're leaning in on Saga can be rough. You don't see just good old fashioned Naya burn as much anymore. Splashing for these multiple cards, so they do have the third land. I think they may have had that last turn, and we're trying to play around. We're trying to play around my Raven's Crime. Okay, drew another land. Okay, this is a pretty easy block for us. Because if they just have 3 lightning bolts, we're dead no matter what. It doesn't matter. They should have bolted the Murderous Rider if they did that. If they have the stupid Atarka's command, that would be pretty salt-inducing because that's not a playable modern card. Don't run that magic card if you're a bird player, guys. They do have the Atarka's command. This is not a playable magic card. Don't run this magic card ever. It worked out here, but like it's not a good card. It's not a modern power level card. Like I said, it worked though, so it's funny that I called my shot there. That I definitely knew that's what was going to happen. It is glitching. It's been so long. There's a unfixed glitch on Magic Online. Okay, so they were just holding their lands. So we're not like stone dead. We're just 99% dead. This has been a tough game because we're not built for a 2015 burn deck, this is literally what it looks like it is a copy pasted 2015 burn deck. And I don't mean that with any malice. It's just Destructive Revelry is a card that is so good against us specifically in burn. Oh, yep, we're just dead. Frustrating game. Opponent just had the nuts on every axis the last 2 games. Like I don't. I can go back through and we can look. There's the removal spell that would have won us the game probably. Like, well, I don't. In this situation, it wouldn't have, but it just would have been so relevant the whole game. Very. That one's one that definitely makes me a bit salty, especially coming out as hot as we did at the beginning there. And we're very. Our main deck should be very built to handle burn. It's just the hate card or two there that they had game 3 and just barely not being able to. We had the dodge specifically them having basically 3 bolts in their hand. Like if they had had a creature, if they had had anything that required like 2 mana to cast, like Boros Charm or Lightning Helix, instead of having the 3 1-mana spells, they were dead the next turn. So we had 2 back to back that were pretty tough. But that's just the beats. We also did mulligan to 5 that last game. Like I can't complain too much on a mulligan to 5. God, we have had awful luck. Like half of our deck is lands, no land hand. Not quite half, but like 25 cards in the deck, 24 lands, and that expedition map is pretty close to 50%. We can keep this hand. I guess we send back a Murderous Rider. We're not really doing anything particularly rackish with this hand though, which has been kind of the theme with running this version of the deck. We do have the removal spell for the turn 1 creature, which is nice. Hopefully they don't just follow it up with a bobble here. They do always. It does always feel like they have the bobble with Ledger Shredder and Chandler. Not that it matters too much. I am curious what the top card of our library gives away to him here. Okay. Now this is the deck that we're more built to beat. Opponent is playing like very slow. Again, this kind of been the theme of the day too. Okay, there we go. A Pithing Needle, okay. Well, they probably assume that we're an Urza Saga deck if they see a Pithing Needle now. If we had a Thoughtseize effect, we might be able to Pithing Needle some sort of land here. The first land we would have Pithing Needle would be Scalding Tarn, but like Misty Rainforest and Flooded Strand are also pretty commonly named cards. Well, Pithing Needle, see if they'll crack Misty in response. I would say if they do, we'll just name it on Bauble probably. Scalding Tarn, Flooded Strand, Misty Rainforest. Usually it's Scalding Tarn and Misty Rainforest. People tend to get like, I don't know why almost everyone will run the Misties. Maybe it's because they're cheaper now because of the reprints. I'll see people getting lazy all the time and not splitting up their fetches. And I'm not criticizing that. I do it too. See if they do have a second spell. I wouldn't mind them having a second one just so they'll tap out. Okay, they appear that they do. A second creature like Ragavan would be nice. Okay. Frustrating because now we're probably going to play into a Spellpierce here. And then they're going to get their loot off the Spellpierce. Oh, they did not. Okay. Interesting. I think we just play Liliana, tick up Liliana. I don't like this line because, one, if I'd thought about it more, maybe I'd just keep the Pithing Needle in hand to discard to this. And this also gives them a way to discard a Bauble had we stuck one in hand. And it fuels their Murktide and gives them an option to Unholy Heat this. Which the good thing about Murderous Rider is it does get Murktides as well. Opponent's in the tank about what to discard. Opponent in the tank, in the tank. Not sure what they could be thinking so hard about in this spot. Maybe just doing Murktide math. Like, taking that long to make that decision makes me feel like they definitely have a Murktide in hand. Okay, and Engineered Explosives. So they're main decking Engineered Explosives. And had we had a Thoughtseize effect, which, like, we're not down on any of the Thoughtseize and Inquisition effects in our main deck. But we've missed them some critical times this game. I'm hoping our opponent goes land into Murktide off this. That would be nice. That way we know that their shields are down. I don't think they would just because they see this Liliana in play. Even if they Unholy Heated into Murktide, that wouldn't be the end of the world. Certainly taking their time once again. Our opponent might be streaming of their own, talking through it, or there's been two or three times now that it's appeared they've. Let's see. I think that we're at this spot where we have to just play for the high upside here, and just hope that, like, just have this Liliana of the Veil get us card advantage on every tick up. This is exclusively just because we lost card advantage off of that expressive iteration. Okay, Spell Snare. Well, that card is horrible against us because we are running Obosh's Companion. Wonder what's getting bolted here. Something's probably getting unholy heated or bolted. So there's the unholy heat for the Liliana. Okay. This is the nightmare scenario of like they then had that like there's that argument of hold the nurturing peatland in hand, uptick Liliana, discard the peatland, hold up Swift End for a Murktide. But like yeah, we can't sit back and let them string together expressive iterations. And we had the mana to do things with Obosh, things like that. So because here comes the Murktide that they were holding back and not casting into the Liliana. So this is going to be annoying. Yep, there's the Murktide. Opponent continues to play at a glacial pace. Okay, there we go. Not even trying to be particularly salty about that. It's just like there's not been any decision points for them that I've seen. I mean, they might just be busy doing something. Let's crack and hope that we hit a Liliana. Like this is so transparently counterspell. It's not even funny. But once again, take it. So there's the bauble that got Pithing Needled. That's why I don't really like naming Pithing Needle on bauble, and it is frustrating knowing that we do have to keep the Pithing Needle in because of this engineered explosives. This is not a card to normally main deck. Okay, opponent definitely is just passing with counterspell. Okay. Um, let's see. Maybe it's not counterspell. It might just be nothing. Could be bolt. We're actually like we're close to winning the race as it stands. Especially if they counterspell the Obosh, if we draw a land next turn, I would like that because that sets us up for a draw where we can draw a second black spell to pitch with a march. Like if they don't have counterspell and they're just playing this game and we have a land off the top, we are winning the race as of that moment. Okay, first we'll get in, try to force some sort of action. Hopefully this is an unholy heat. It's a bolt. Okay. He tucks himself. Here comes the counterspell, probably. They've been representing counterspell like as oh they were bluffing. I was gonna say they've been showing counterspell for a long time now. I'm trying to represent counterspell for a long time. They have some sort of bounce spell that could be annoying, but maybe they have a dash Ragavan. At that point, then we have to make the decision. I think then it would be smart to just okay. So that's just unholy heat. Got it. Is this a dashed Ragavan or is it another Murktide? 3 mana or 2 mana. Yeah, that's probably another Murktide. That also means that they're Hellbent though. So any top decked, yeah, any top decked card. Oh, I guess I actually have a way to kill it in my hand. Once again, March of Wretched Sorrow. I would really like. Okay, well, this is even better. I was gonna say March of Wretched Sorrow is such a good Magic card, guys. If you're in a discard deck, it's I. It does not look good, and I get that it doesn't look good, but I think it's perfect for what we want to be doing. Once again, if they have a Dash Ragavan here, for whatever reason, I'll definitely be considering just marching it. Okay. Yeah, so think about this. So we march this Ragavan if it attacks Liliana. Yeah, and okay. We have to march this Ragavan because this is the right play. This now eliminates the card advantage. Okay. We did lose the Obosh, but that's fine. We weren't going to cast the Obosh more than likely anyway. We still could have the castle to generate some card advantage. Perfect. So we play this, tick this up. Play the Saga, and we're very far ahead now. We have a way to kill anything but a Dash Dragonman if we have to. Our threat in play. Perfect. That should be the game right there. They have some draws, like some nutty draws that can get them out of the spot, but it's going to be difficult. Yeah, I don't think we bother ticking this thing up. I think we just pass. Uh, that way we have two. We can play conservatively. We can just treat Liliana as an edict for now. Nothing from our opponent. Next turn, I think we're pretty likely to get the rack and tick Liliana up. Oh, this is even better. Okay. Is yeah. So this is correct. So rack, tick Liliana up. Now we play this spell bomb. We get in for 4, then we crack the spell bomb. And that just insulates us against Unholy Heat now. So they didn't have a counter spell lined up for us. Finally. And Unholy Heat's the big one. But obviously DRC is pretty good here. We'll just play the land. We have Liliana to tick up if we need it. Let's see. Opponent's got a Fiery Islet. I'm gonna cycle it. Can't imagine unless they're like main decking Brotherhood's End here, them getting out of this spot. They could. Okay, just bolt the Liliana and die. Got it. GG opponent. Let's see. I do think we want the relics. And we want the Sudden Edicts. So that does lose our Obosh by bringing in the Sudden Edicts, but I think it's correct. Obosh is not where we want to be in this deck. We want to get rid of the blind discard with the Raven's Crime. This next cut is tougher. Probably cut the Hex Parasite. Hex Parasite's tough. Like you can get a engineered explosives while their shield is down with it, but I don't think that's. I think that's just cute. I don't think that's actually like a thing we're trying to do this game. I think maybe we just take out. I hate just taking out a land because there's a reason why we're running 24. But I think these games will go long enough that I could justify going down 1 Urborg with this mana base. I think that's fine. I think you could maybe even justify going down 2. But for now, we'll just go down 1. Opponent is probably unsure how to sideboard against this style of deck. We did reveal that we are a rack deck, but how far we're leaning into the rack, they probably don't know. Which this game, it's not that far. This is the deck that we want to be able to beat with this build of rack. I can't emphasize that enough. This deck that we're playing against represents about 20% of the modern meta right now, competitively. So, if you want to win the competitive landscape, you need to have a favorable matchup against the Burktide deck. It's kind of just a necessity at this point. Once again, this back-to-back games of Pithing Needle in our opening hand really does suck, but like it has to be in the deck now because of that engineered explosives. We have way too many EE for one and EE for zero. Just blows us out so hard if we don't do it. Opponent is on a mulligan, so that does help our bad card in hand here. I prefer to see a turn one DRC no bobble. Opponent has done this thing quite a few games where they've like started to cast a card and then didn't. So I'm not sure. Yeah, this Pithing Needle is definitely going to be on Engineered Explosives now after top decking that rack. I just wish we could tutor it off the Saga later instead of playing it like this now. Okay, consider. This is a pretty bad hand. Like, I get it because they think they can consider into a land, but in retrospect, I got to talking. I probably should have definitely taken the expressive iteration because they have the fatal push for the Ragavan, but I was hoping that they would just get choked on mana. Okay, they did eventually mill over enough that they did find their land. Okay, we do have a Lochtwain. We know that they do run polluted delta, so they probably are well behaved as far as which lands they're running. Okay, they're paying attention. They got to crack the polluted delta. That's fine. Okay, we're not going to do that. We're naming engineered explosives because that card blows us out big time. No point in playing the rack out yet. Expedition map gives us more flexibility next turn to maybe crack the expedition map, get a Urza Saga, play the rack. So let me know in the comments if you guys have any sports. Of course, when I was talking earlier about watching football, of course I did mean American football. You know, like the National Football League playoff games. I just took a peek up for the first time in a while, and the team I root for is losing 24-0, and it looks like there's no sign of a comeback here. So Spellpiercer and Exile, that's pretty big for us. They continue to miss on lands. Just get an Urza Saga. Play the Urza Saga. Of course, it does make our rack plan worse. And this is... I really wish my cat wasn't climbing all over me in the intro. And wish I could go back, and as long as that intro is really go into detail about the choices of this deck list and how it's specifically designed to play against the deck we're playing against. The rack itself is pretty bad against their version of this version of their deck. Another expressive iteration. That is good. So they had to bend an expressive iteration. Then their last expressive iteration only was a 1-for-1. They did finally hit a land off their expressive iteration. The first 2-for-1 I've seen off one of those for them so far. Being able to kill a creature here would be nice. Perfect. We definitely want to kill so much so that like we would not make a construct token in order to kill this Ragavan if we had to. So before we even worry about making a construct token, let's go ahead and kill the Ragavan. Okay. Like just in case they had force of negation or something weird. And we'll just wait till they're in step. Because that generates the mana. And we're in a spot that we can probably even outrace a Murktide at this point with how big our construct tokens can get, plus a Shadowspear. So really, like, how they win is catching back up on mana. Now, they could just bolt this construct token here. But it doesn't even appear that they have that. Unless they just F6 through their instep, which is a real possibility. Well, so I guess they could have Dress Down here. How much do we want to play around Dress Down? I think it's correct to play around Dress Down in this spot. That's the boring play. Shadowspear does not play around Dress Down, obviously. And Archmage's Charm's also an option for them. Let's see if it's Dress Down or Archmage's Charm. Is Dress Down, okay. I think that was correct. Okay. We're going to let this get sacrificed. Oh wow, even better. So they just continue to fill our yard up. They could have waited till after. Okay, I want priority back though. I wanted priority back. That's fine. It shouldn't matter. It's just a bit annoying. to, that it, I think I'm supposed to get priority back after that trigger resolves, but maybe I'm not a judge. I might be wrong about that. All right. Opponent's checking the top of our deck now. Not having Obosh here is a little bit of a bummer. They do have a litany of hate cards against us in this matchup. Okay, they do know about this Spellbomb. There's no hiding it here, so just play it out. We're not going to crack it for a while. So they just counterspell that. That's fine. The fact that they did counterspell that makes me think like they almost definitely have a Murktide. So that's good to know. Rack has been pretty horrible in this matchup to the point. Hmm. Like it might be worth sideboarding out for other cards next game, or at least one of the two copies. Okay, Dash Dragavan. Let them go to combat before they attack. We'll attempt to Fatal Push. Hopefully they're not willing to fight too hard over this Ragavan. Okay. They're willing to fight a little bit over the Ragavan. Now the question becomes if I'm willing to get 2-for-1 or not. And we're not gonna pay for any of these. Okay. So I don't think that I'm willing to risk getting. I think I'm willing to risk them hitting some sort of Thoughtseize effect, or having a counterspell. Okay, they had a Liliana. They can't cast that. So we can play the March next turn. And as long as they're not getting card advantage off this Ragavan, I'm not too worried about it. Especially given now, hopefully we gain some. Like, oh, we have a second March. That's great. Telling you guys, March is a good Magic card. You should be playing it in your rack decks at this point. I've not had that strong of an opinion about it up to like the past maybe 5 leagues I've played total. It's just gotten so much better. So I don't think we're playing around any sort of counter magic next turn. Like I see no reason to even play around Spellpierce here. We can play around Spellpierce. Our life total's not in danger, so let's play around Spellpierce. If they're running, we do know they are running Spellpierce, so we could have played it around a Fluster Storm for 3 as well. But I hope that just keep getting the counter spells out. That's fine. We're not going to thin our deck until after this Ragavan connects. Just hoping maybe they hit a fetch land or a swamp. We could have done it again. Okay, they did hit an Urborg. I'm fine with them playing this game of hyper protecting a Ragavan. Like I don't think that's winning for them. Now, if they are willing to tap out completely for a Murktide here, then maybe I consider. Actually, let's go ahead and march this now. I was hoping maybe that does a few different things for us. One, it causes them to be in a spot where they have to potentially. Well, I guess they don't take damage off the rack, but it lets us resolve something big on our turn potentially. Okay, they do just concede that that's the way to go. That they're just going to let us have that, but it also lets us play play this Castle Lochtwain game. Yeah, we're just immediately cracking this, by the way, trying to disable the effectiveness of their Murktide, and we did hit a cast or an Urza Saga. That's perfect. They could have another dress down here, but I do think that we're quite ahead in this game still. It's good. We could have waited last turn and assumed that they were going to crack that fiery islet. Okay, that's one of the better creatures that they could play because it causes me to not have to kick this. Once again, okay, now we're in a little bit of a tougher spot. I think for mana efficiency on later turns, we want to just Liliana here. Yep. That's even better. Like, so this accomplishes what I want Liliana to do in this spot. And this is not me like saying our opponent's making a bad play here either. Like they don't know what's in our hand, and like they're playing to, hey, like okay, so we did get an engineered explosives, good, with the Pithing Needle. But it does sacrifice their creature, so they're playing to a Murktide, I think. Um, Our opponent has not taken, I don't think, any damage off the rack this game. They may have taken one at some point, but I don't think they did. The rack has done. We played it very early. It has done exactly nothing this entire game. It's not. It's very bad against this deck. And it's not that the rack is bad. Bad. It's just it's bad against this specific deck, and that makes all the difference in the world. We're probably getting dressed down again. Oh, Sudden Edict is fantastic. So knowing that we're getting dressed down, I do think now it's correct to get Relic, or at least thinking very hard that we're going to get dressed down. I don't know we're getting dressed down. Interesting enough here, if our opponent wanted to Unholy Heat, um, would have been correct for the, or we probably should have tapped our Relic before we. Okay, this is why. That's a pretty easy cycle here. Okay, good. Just does two. So that was a little bit of a misplay on our part because we could have had them set up that if they wanted to Unholy Heat, um, we could have just tapped the Relic in response and not had to sack it like that. So something to look for is relics going on the stack versus these delirium cards are, they're definitely tricky. I will say that. I don't know. Sometimes I might make them harder than they need to be, the way that I just kind of slam sometimes. But all right, opponent. I think our the opponent must have another Murktide. Like it feels like they've had a Murktide for a long time. Okay, there's a Shredder. This will be really good because if we could catch them with their pants down a little bit here, now they don't get the value from, they don't even get the value of being able to in response Shredder here. This is pretty deadly. Sudden Edict's a good magic card against this matchup. Oh, yep. That's enough to send him packing. And there was a backup spell if we needed it, but well, as you can see, we are not built to handle uh, 2015, 2016 burn. We are built to handle that deck, and that was a pretty easy 2-0. This is like I said, if you're going to be successful in leagues, it is frustrating that sometimes. So like Murktide, had they played against that first burn deck, you get this weird rock paper scissors of Murktide probably runs over that first burn deck. Well, and I shouldn't say it's directly copy pasted. They were running Roiling Vortex. Maybe the green splash is actually secretly genius with like Destructive Revelry. I'm not sure. It may be. Maybe that's like the new meta for burn. So I shouldn't get too salty about that. I mean, I think we keep this hand. I'm not particularly impressed by it, but opponent mulligans, but so that helps a little bit. But yeah, so you kind of when you're in modern, you have to choose to be the most powerful deck that just runs over weak decks, or you have to be a deck that's built to beat the very powerful decks. And or you can be weaker decks that like or maybe niche decks that prey on the decks that are really trying to go all in and beat um, the meta decks. And our goal is definitely to beat the deck that we just beat. We should hypothetically, I think we're favorable against burn. Okay, so a terminate. That makes me think that they're probably Rakdos Scam. They could be something else. Could be a number of things. Okay, Ragavan 2. All right, let's not give them any extra information here. Let's just yeah, I think I'm fine with not fetching for a turn or two. It's Raven's Crime first. Make them make their decision. Hopefully they discard another Ragavan, something like that would be nice. It's always important to give your opponent decision points if you can help it. And this is particularly the deck too that one of the reasons I'm running fetch lands is to more easily kill this card. Okay, they do just play the second Ragavan. Hmm. We're just gonna cast the Bloodchief's Thirst here. All right, opponent's got nothing. Now I do think we're gonna start fetching. We're gonna fetch one away. We'll leave our second one. Uh, this is tough. I think the correct play this turn is just put Obosh in hand. I'm almost at the point too that I would like to keep drawing lands. Well, that's not the land we want to draw, obviously. Let's just pitch it. Could be unwittingly fueling a Croxa pretty easily too, but they're at least 3 mana away from that. Yep, there's the Croxa. Okay. Still think we're okay with not fetching here for a few reasons. Oh, God. Back to back of like the one land that we'd prefer not to draw. The good thing with Raven's Crime is that it allows you to run these Urborgs and it punish you just a little bit less. But discarding Dathi Voidwalker is interesting. Like I want to know what's in their hand that ends up being better than a Voidwalker here. Is it like 3 Voidwalkers? I'm not sure. Just removal spells like Fables. Could be a lot of things. Okay, so just more. So They do potentially have access to a fatal push on a later turn. Okay, there. Well, now we have something. Terminate Seasoned Pyromancer Fury. Definitely getting rid of the Seasoned Pyromancer. That's the one that kind of lets them get back in the game a little bit. Fury, we can just play around. That's easy. Terminate, same thing. Just play around, terminate. That's easy. Let's see if they'll. If we play this Hex Parasite, there's a good chance that they just think we're Death Shadows. So maybe this Hex Parasite will draw out a terminate as well. Once again, this is why we run 24 lands with Obosh, just because we could definitely use the mana all the time. Oh God, yeah, I'm okay with even if they want to like do the undying thing on this Fury, like that's perfectly fine. Yep, doesn't do anything. Cool. It could kill itself if it wanted to, I guess. Okay, now we're in the clear to just Murderous Rider this creature. I think that should be the this should kind of be the beginning of the end for them at this point. Because like they can't cast their top decked Furies or Griefs or anything like that yet. They were way too aggressive on that little combo there. Okay, well let's just go ahead and fetch for basic. I was gonna say this is like the one card or the like. Hopefully they know that we're an Urza Saga deck by the Hex Parasite, but they probably don't. Like I'm gonna give it to them. They probably don't know that. Now they do. They just take the Obosh. Yeah, Obosh is definitely the card that like kills them very fast. We're just gonna keep up. We're not really under any pressure. I don't think that they can put much pressure on us with top deck mode either. Okay, just gonna go to combat. Get in. Our Urza Saga just immediately dies, so we'll just Raven's Crime it away. Make them make whatever decision that they have to make here. Okay, just an Undying Malice. Yeah, I know that there's a lot of competitive Magic players that like this deck. I think this deck is such a bad mid range deck, and I don't even like I don't hate the deck or anything. Okay, this is a pretty easy like. They know that the March is in our hand, so I'm confused about why. Like I guess they just have to do it. Okay. They didn't know about the Murderous Rider, but they did know about the March. Getting in again. Opponent. Let's see what we got. Just a land. All right, now they're getting into like some dangerous territory. If they can start hard casting a Fury. What are they? Okay. Well, now the jig's like triple up. Okay. Yeah, they know they literally I don't think they can win with that in play. Leyline of the Void against them is okay. That's really the only card that I'm like kind of missing here, like wishing that we had. Uh it's a tough spot of whether we'd rather have the Karn or the Obosh. This is interesting. So this is something that I'll have to revisit. Like I said, this is just where I'm at as far as competitive deck list goes. There has to be some 3 mana threats that I could play in that Karn spot that I can still keep Obosh in the grindy matchups. Maybe it's just Plague Engineers. Hmm. So I'm a little bit in the tank here. I do think Hex Parasite sucks. It's just a free thing to kill for them. Uh, God. I think maybe they're not expecting us to have too many creatures at this point. But they'll probably. I'm gonna do something kind of weird. So I'm gonna sideboard out two sagas and two Raven's Crimes. I'm gonna sideboard in the Tourachs and the Karns. And I'm gonna side out two Bloodchief's Thirst. I'm gonna side in all three Edicts. We might side out all four Raven's Crimes here. Raven's Crimes might be better than Inquisitions, though, actually. This is tough. So, generally speaking, in these mid range matchups, you want to go down. Oh, I think Pithing Needle's easy takeout. And. Let's go down one Thoughtseize. No, let's keep the Thoughtseize. We're less worried about our life total. We'll just go down the Inquisition. So this helps us hedge against their Blood Moon a little bit better. Easy mulligan. And now, anytime that I'm going to miss on land drops, I'm going to blame it that I'm at 22 lands instead of 24. But as you saw earlier, it's just random variance to a point. Having the Urza Saga is a little bit annoying. We'll probably bottom the Shadowspear. We'll be playing the Urza Saga on turn 2 almost definitely. Just out of hopes that like somehow we dodge their Blood Moon effect. Karn Scions definitely, I think, was worth it in the matchup. They might just Thoughtseize it away here. Yep, they are just assuming that they're probably trying to hit with a Ragavan. Been struggling a little bit today. So, yep, Ragavan. Well, why do why does this opponent keep keeping these hands? So we're going to try to draw Thoughtseize here. Hopefully we can create one Saga token before they have Blood Moon. Like just mulligan. Don't keep a one land hand. Well, and they'll definitely hit. They'll definitely be able to hit Blood Moon off this. I'm sure after keeping the one lander. Pretty fine with Urborg getting exiled. Here comes the Blood Moon, I'm sure. Yep, fetching for a basic. This is like the exact sequence of events that they had to get a little bit lucky to hit. Oh, thank God. That's horrible. For them, I guess. Like, I don't know. Let's go ahead and make them exile their land. Maybe I just play the Bloodstained Mire here. I don't think I'm willing to trade. Okay, Thoughtseize. They're going to take away my Karn Scion, of course. Maybe they just cast the Karn Scion. Like, that's such a good card in this matchup. Oh, they have no interest in casting the Karn Scion, huh? I'd be all over that. That card is so good. People don't respect that, especially with them making treasure tokens. I guess they got all day if they want to do that. You want to cast a relic of their own? Sure. You can have my relic. Knight's Whisper. That's interesting. I respect it. Like, Knight's Whisper is just a good little cantrip. I've seen mono black decks run that card. I specifically don't run it because I don't just don't like that type of effect in a rack deck. But oh, this is perfect. I guess they could. Does this allow you to play, or is it specifically cast? Yeah, so they could play an Urza Saga if they wanted it bad enough. I think we just get a rack here. See if we can catch something good. So Feign Death, Feign Death, Seasoned Pyromancer. I think this is pretty easy. Take the Seasoned Pyromancer here. Maybe we should have gotten the Shadowspear instead of the rack, but I'm okay with how things have worked out. Surprised they've gotten so aggressive with the Voidwalker, though. Like I'm maybe they was because they wanted to use all their mana that turn, why they didn't just cast that. But I think if they cast that on their turn, I don't think I could win with the amount of treasure tokens they make and take and getting the relic. Now it might be too late, but there was definitely a point there that was the line, I think. Opponent taking their time. Choo choo. Okay, opponent, what do we got? I mean, it is kind of a complex line here for them, especially because there's like a bunch of cards that they don't play with. They definitely don't want to Thoughtseize me. Like, that's easy. Because that could. Oh, they played the land. That's interesting. That means they could flashback the Seasoned Pyromancer if they want to. Okay. You definitely play the Karn here. Like, that's. They can't play the Saga anyway, but yeah, like that was. I don't really like that should have happened like 2 turns ago minimum. This card's just so good in this matchup, especially if you're making treasure tokens. That it didn't make any sense to me to not play it. So we know their whole hand. So we're definitely blocking Ragavan if they give us the opportunity. I'm surprised they didn't feign death their own Dothy Voidwalker though. Oh, it's Raven's crime them. This gives us a rare chance to like double crime them. And that on its own might be enough to get us there. So that means they have to double chump. I mean, don't get me wrong, they can feign death their Ragavan back, but I don't think that does anything though. Yep, just getting the beats on. And we're definitely not cracking this. We don't want to trade, but we're going to make this decision now before they feign death. Yeah, they take the easy line. They could flashback their Seasoned Pyromancer, I guess, and block that way, but does put them in a pretty susceptible place to the rack itself. Okay, opponents in the tank. It is kind of a complicated because if they flashback Seasoned Pyromancer, this becomes a 2/2, and that messes up their math. So like I'm not too salty about our opponent taking their time here. Opponent. So I'm glad I've made the decision to play this game today or play this league tonight because the Buccaneers are getting their face stomped in. I'm not sure what the best line. If I was my opponent, well, if I was my opponent, I wouldn't be in this situation because I would have realized how powerful this card was and just cast it way earlier. But it just completely missed that line. I don't know why, especially because Feign Death works with Voidwalker. Like they had two of these in hand, they could have just got the Voidwalker right back. Like I get that that probably could have. So they see this line of this. This is the line that I think is the best line. Now, how you block though is complicated. I think that was probably the worst possible. I think you have to kill these constructs. Like I don't think that's a good block at all. Like I'm not just saying that to say that. Like you have to kill at least one of the two constructs, right? Maybe you don't. Maybe that's the best line because maybe you're playing to this construct getting bigger. But though, if you get in with Ragavan, though, like they do make these 4/4s, but oh, that is horrible. That's horrible. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't care what you have. Like I don't care if it's a hard cast Fury. Like, do not attack with that construct here, because then like you're just so susceptible to a removal spell. For there's no need to be that susceptible to a removal spell in the spot. Okay, they're just feigning death, bringing it back. But what are they? Are they sacrificing it? Okay, just hit it. Sugo consumes all. That makes way more sense. Okay, I was gonna say I was like that would be give me priority game, dude. Like it's acting as if it's not gonna give me priority here. Okay, same thing. They're doing the same thing we are. Should have fetched for sure. Okay, that hit at Sugu top deck made that way more sense. Made that make way more sense because now they are ahead. That's a good card to keep in mind that I did not think that they had access to. This is a little bit too late, too little, too late on this one. I'm okay with this card getting exiled out of my graveyard. That one could win them the game. Okay, that makes way more sense. But they didn't have that in hand. They had the Feigned Death as the last guardian, so that was a top deck. So there was nothing that we could have done to play around that a little bit better. Also, you know, we're playing a pile of weird cards. I'm not hating on my opponent for one taking a lot of time, two not necessarily like playing them in the way that I would play them. Come on, opponent. I mean, like this, just like last turn though. Like this was your only card. Like you did you had exactly one line, and that was exactly what they did. Okay, just hard cast the grief. That's fine. It's probably not any card that gets us out of this spot. Yeah, we're good. Just scooping. Go into game three. That's okay. That was a great top deck from our opponent. I still think they misplayed a little bit, but it is what it is. I think maybe we went the third Tourach. I don't know. Actually, I do think now we're going to go back to the Obosh plan. I think that's correct because Obosh plays around. So what about? Oh no, because we do we want the sudden edicts? So we're not gonna play. We're not gonna do the Obosh plan specifically. I take that back. We're gonna go down some relics. I still think Karn's okay, but we do want to go up these like significantly. I don't think we care too much about. We'll just play one Karn this time. The Tourach is where we want to be. We want to avoid the 1 mana dies to this is a good hand against their deck. We do want to avoid the things that die to that consumes all if we can. Who knows how many they have in their list, but better to avoid it if possible. I'm hoping that they don't do the grief trick this turn. Okay, just a Thoughtseize, that's fine. Sudden Edict's pretty good. Opponent is taking their time. I do think they chose correctly. Opponents do not value March as much as I do, though. Because March looks like a bad Magic card. It's tough, but I think we can seal. I would rather play the Castle here under normal circumstances. Hopefully we see a game where Castle like actually can do some taking over. Okay, opponent. What do we got? A Voidwalker, maybe? I mean, this is the easiest Fatal Push. Actually, let's be mana efficient. Not sure why they would think that we would let that hit us. I mean, it's probably definitely bait, but they probably don't know that we have the third. Well, they knew about all 3 removal spells. So I went ahead and played the Lochtwain out. I could have just played the Swamp. But in case they have something like a Croxa to make us discard, I'd rather cast the Swamp here. Not sure if our opponent was trying to see if we had a stop or what they were doing by skipping through their main phase so fast then pausing. Okay. Nothing. That's what they're doing. Well, this card is good against like the pitch crap, so okay. I don't think we're willing to take 4 to draw a card, but okay, they put these on the stack. They can't respond to this, so at least that keeps it from being a. It's just a clean 2 for a 2 now, instead of like the potential 4 for 3 that it is with the Undying Malice. I don't like the taking the Fatal Push there. Okay, finger slipped a little bit there, but that's okay. We're going to hold up both edicts, and then we'll draw off Lochtwain at their end step. Assuming we don't use them. Just gives us more options. Let's just go ahead and draw off Lochtwain now. Yeah, we want to keep this Saga, I think. Like they could be holding a Blood Moon on us, but they've also not hit any lands, so I'm okay with how this has gone thus far. And this single-handedly makes Hidetsugu like okay. So that's the Hidetsugu consumes all. Kolgan's command. Just take the Hidetsugu consumes all. The rest of it isn't too difficult to beat. Now we know that we're not really in any danger of getting got by. Oh, perfect. Spellbomb. We're not in any danger of getting got by a evoked grief or fury for at least 2 more turns, right? So, Night's Whisper. Let's see if they hit a land. It's a lot of card draw for them to not hit a land. I'm sure they probably okay. Let's say if they didn't hit a land there, they'd be flustered. I'm sure. I do think this is like definitely the kicked Tourach. Yeah, this is correct. Just to kick Tourach here because it's unlikely they can kill it. They might be able to, but it's unlikely they can kill it now. Um, disrupts their hand well. Okay, so they drew two lands off that, so that's good that we disrupted their lands. We'll probably be getting Expedition Map next turn. Let's actually let's crack this now. I should have cracked it on my turn before I hit skip through my main phase, but okay. Well, now it makes me look a little bit smarter because now if they play a 3-drop, I can fatal push it. So it doesn't really it didn't really matter too much. I guess that was like technically incrementally the better line. So Turok doesn't die to K command now. They do, I believe, have one season Pyromancer is correct. Yep. Play the season Pyromancer, that's fine. Interesting that they're willing to just go ahead and get rid of this K command. We do grow our Turok just a little bit. I think we may go full aggro here. Just go ahead and fatal push this season Pyromancer. Okay. That's half of that was just a fade death check as well. The expedition map. Need to talk through my lines a little bit more here. I'm just kind of going through the motions at this point. Our opponent must have gotten rid of their blood moons potentially. Castle Lochtwain is a good magic card when you have a lot of mana as well. This is extremely aggressive on my part, but that edict is pretty useless. Well, so this was probably the better line earlier, by the way. I should have fatal pushed the token on their turn, then edict the season pyromancer to make sure that I didn't get like blown out by their fade death effect. But it didn't particularly matter either way. So here comes a fury. If they do have a feign death here, like it's not great. I don't think they do. They could. Okay, they don't. I would probably sideboard those cards out if I were them. Okay, just a grief. Not too worried about that. I wish I could. Can I create a token and activate Lochtwain here? I'm just going to do this now. I think I can, can't I? No, or am I one short? No, I can do both. Just go ahead and get in. If they want to block right here, that's perfectly fine. That just continues our playing around Feign Death. Yep, that's perfect. And it keeps us. Their hit at Sugu is a little bit worse now. I think it's the correct block for them, but I think we both like that block in that spot. Lochtwain has looked great this game. If we just get the rack, they're dead, right? Or like might as well be dead. Skip the rack. Play Peatland. I mean, we'll crack the Peatland for show. I mean, they do have Night's Whisper, so I guess they're technically not dead. They don't know that we have Raven's Crime plus 2 lands in our hand. So now now they'd be dead regardless. Oh, they have a Season Pyromancer, of course. All right, that's fine. Just block once. Do think it's? I mean, they still have Hidetsugu to top deck into, but we also have the Locked Blade and they don't, which is like Their Lochtwain getting exiled or like discarded off that Tourach was probably the difference in the game. Perfect. Well, that one wasn't as pretty, but we got there. 2-1. Really wish we could have that first match of the day back. Like, I feel like we win that matchup at least 70% of the time. Being on the play twice against them and everything, like we just if we could have that matchup back, we'd be perfect. Yeah, once again, peeking up a little bit. It's now you all, if you do watch any American football, like I said, I made the correct decision tonight. It's 31-6. The Cowboys are winning. I'm not as big of a Cowboy hater as a lot of American football fans are that don't cheer for the Cowboys. However, I definitely wanted to see them lose tonight for several reasons. One, I like the Buccaneers. I know this will be the last year they'll be good for a while, probably. Brady's going to leave, and two, it's kind of meme value for them to lose to a team that's like clearly the worst team in the playoffs. The Buccaneers are this year. Like they are not a good football team. Won't go through too much. I played a tiny bit, technically just a semester of college football, and committed to three different places. So I do like to. If you know from watching my rack videos, I'm an analyzer of football as well, so I can sit here and analyze the game in this season just as much for you. But I'll stick to the rack content for y'all today as the game's getting ready to start again. All right, the Sandwich King, our opponent. Uh, Gigantha. I think this is probably the Aspiring Spike deck. If I was guessing, like the Anvil combo deck, because whenever he plays a deck that looks pretty good, you got a lot of people that immediately pick it up. And Gigantha being Tron, like Thoughtseizes are good against Tron. Oh no, it's not at all. It's a so we just take the Soul Scar Mage here. So it's a prowess deck. I was expecting the Anvil deck. Interesting. Hopefully they don't have any sort of spell pierce or anything like that they have access to, or even just a second 1 mana 1/1 here would be, yeah, that's a pretty big tilt as well. Okay, oh gosh, so we do have to like take a significant amount of damage. This is one game where I'm glad we have 24 lands, and it's really rough that one of them is Urza's Saga. This Urza Saga is horrible. Not sure. Okay, it's like our opponent doesn't really have anything to respond to. We have to get rid of this Sprite Dragon. Like we could just die because we're getting rid of this Sprite Dragon, but if we don't get rid of the Sprite Dragon, it's almost okay. It doesn't look like their hand is too gas. Manamorphose can change that very quickly, but I think we'll probably take like we'll probably go down to 8 or 9 this turn. Let's hope they don't hit a lava dart specifically. That's much worse. Okay. Um. So we know Lightning Bolt, Manamorphose. Yeah, I think it's worth it to. Let's just go ahead and we'll get rid of this. I do think now it's correct to just Raven's Crime because it's pretty much doesn't matter either way, which they get rid of here. Manamorphose is the higher upside. I do agree with them. So Manamorphose again. Yep. Well, for the first time, I guess. Hopefully they don't draw into a third or a fourth creature. Another Manamorphose again. Yep. They always. That's what I was going to say. Manamorphoses seem to come in pairs or threes. It's like they're kind of. Oh, see, this is kind of what I'm talking about. Like You can have some really busted draws just by letting that creature stay in play. You could take quite a bit of damage. This is the tough spot of okay, yeah, we just hmm. This is tough actually. Whether or not to get the expedition map or the rack. I do think the rack is just incrementally better. It's not much better, but it is better because we can in fact Thoughtseize away their Gigantha when they inevitably do that. It's just we're taking way too much damage this turn or this game. If we can cast the Murderous Rider next turn without them actually having played a creature, that would be pretty fantastic. The rack gets some sort of clock on them, which we currently don't have. Okay. Third Manamorphose. Third one, right? Wouldn't be surprised if we don't see the fourth one this game. Phew, that combination of Manamorphose into Iteration is just very powerful. So bolts me, okay. Oh, that's a great draw. Phew. That will hopefully get us out of this spot. I doubt it. But it could. Hopefully they play a creature without much to go. Oh, there's the fourth Manamorphose. How did I know? They always they come. You'll see all four of them every game you play against Paralysis. Just like the old Phoenix days. You know they're just going to have all four of those. Okay. Opponent. Ooh, this is tough. I think we just continue to hold tight and not play these Thoughtseizes, as tempting as it is to play them. This is another spot where, like I said, March is so good. Okay, let's see what they do here. DRC, okay. Exile, exile. Cast. Ugh. Okay, we're not going to tap our Nurturing Peatland right now. Just in case they do have exactly Bolt. Well, that was the one card that, like, does play around not tapping that pretty well. But let's let this resolve. So we hit him for 4. Now we Fatal Push. Because that it, like they could have Spellpiercer here, but let's go ahead and Mutagenic Growth again. Well, that's actually kind of like probably the best possible outcome here is them really dumping all their eggs in this basket. So let's let that resolve, and we'll go ahead and now we'll Fatal Push it. That played around protection spells. We still gained our life. I think it worked out okay. So we do know about the Gigantha. We don't know about what the last card is, though. Underworld Breach. Well, that was definitely a card that could have killed us. If we can find a removal spell, we do have a chance of racing them here, despite it not looking great as of now. Okay. Tough. Well, if they have Bolt, we're dead no matter what, right? So, oh God. This is bad. This makes me feel silly for running the fetch lands, but actually, turn off the auto yields real quick before it skips through them. Okay. So our one out is hitting exactly Fatal Push off cycling the Peatland here. Let's see if we do. Okay, we don't. So we can scoop. We would have been. There's nothing we could do. We're dead if we don't try there. Pretty good game, actually. Not too disappointed at how that worked out. I think we'll be much better. We should be pretty prepared for them overall. I don't think really there's even much need for sideboarding. I think maybe to go down one spell bomb, one pithing needle. Maybe we keep in two spell bombs. I do think, yeah, let's. I think that it's worth not worrying about Obosh in this matchup and just bringing in the good removal. Let's go down a Thoughtseize. Is there anything else we want to go down to? I don't think so. I think we're fine with what we have. As you can see, that's kind of the nifty thing about not caring either way about Obosh is it's like these or like having options when it comes to Obosh is that we could be in a situation where we don't particularly care one way or the other on it. Pretty easy to pitch back at the Hex Parasite. I shouldn't have kept that in my opener there or kept it in my deck. All right, opponent. What do we have, opponent? What do we have? Spell Pierce is pretty good against us. Like it's just we just have to take the creatures because you don't. There's no world where you take the Spell Pierce and then hope that they just don't draw any more protection spells. It's kind of their whole deck is to do that. So now I do think we're all right with going down a card just to make sure this creature dies. I guess they could have top decked a mutagenic growth, but they didn't. I wouldn't be playing that card if I was them in this situation, but okay. We know about the Spell Pierce, we can just play around it, play the Saga. If for whatever reason they make the decision to think that, they'll go shields down to get Jegantha next turn, we'll forego making a token just to resolve the Liliana. Let's see if they make that decision. Because that seems like a pretty reasonable decision to make. Oh no, so that now they have Sprite Dragon plus Spell Pierce backup. That's pretty killer. and they have really good information on our hand at this point. Okay. I mean, we'll just say that you can even let them resolve the Spell Pierce on this. That's fine. And what we'll do here is instead of paying for it, this could be tricky. So we're not going to pay for it. Like if they happen to have like Force of Negation or something wild, they just get us. Like if they have Force of Negation here, like all power. Okay, I was like more power to you. But instead of losing that fight, worried about like now we have a way to win the game in play at least, and they currently don't. So if you can keep their creatures out of play, it becomes significantly more difficult for prowess decks to win. That's just a fact that'll always be when it comes to prowess. Because you run cards like Manamorphose and Bauble that don't really have great power on their own. Breach is tough. So they're going to run Swift Spear to kill the Liliana. Can they do anything else? I guess they could cast Bobble if they want to. My cat's taken off running everywhere if you hear weird noises in the background. I'm not sure. She's been very hyperactive the past few days. So it ends up being a clean 1-for-1. We don't get the card advantage of the Liliana, but they also had to take a lot of their turn to get that. Uh, yeah, I think this is the correct play. So play this. Just get another expedition map. Sacrifice, get a Saga. And then Swift in the Swiftspear here. Always call both halves of Murderous Rider, so if I do that, I apologize. It's just habit. They've behaved several times like they maybe have a way to protect at instant speed, but they definitely want us to think that they have that. I definitely can't complain about the prowess deck drawing creatures. Now, 2 creatures I might complain a little bit about here, because that's a lot of creatures to be drawing. Let's see. This should work out okay. Hopefully next turn we just go ahead and draw a land again. I think that we can make Saga tokens that just outgrow their threats plus a Now the tough question of doing a chump block, I don't think we do. I think we'd rather them throw all their spells out now and not have interaction for a Shadowspear on our end later. They're definitely thinking about like these little points a lot. Which don't get me wrong, I don't mean to criticize people's playing speed. Okay, that is perfect. Like bolt us. That's why like we don't want to whatever incentivizes them to dump what's in their hand at our face. Like thank goodness. I'll take that all day. Because how we win is like just the Shadowspear. Is this the last card too? Lava Dart. Is that lethal though? Let's see. It could be lethal with Lava Dart. I don't think it quite is. So this is like the one scenario that, yeah. Oh, it's exactly lethal. Okay, well, we got. We got punked. We should have chump blocked. We'll check and see if we still can. We can't, and we're dead. Well, they did have Exactsies there. It just happens. We should be pretty favorable against that deck. We just, when they draw that many of their creatures, um, I do think there's a chance that maybe that deck is just as good, if not better, than the Murktide Regent deck as far as what your actual win rate would be. I think people just love playing Murktide. It's the same problem we have in Legacy. It's like people just love playing Delver. But that prowess deck, you think about expressive iteration in prowess now, like it should still be pretty powerful. So 2-2. If I can get the win of 3-2 here, I won't be too disappointed in the league. We get our money's worth. Okay, we'll declare Obosh. I think this is a keep. Guess the Kahira deck. Our Thoughtseize should be good. It's probably the Rhinos deck. Actually, it's definitely not the Rhinos deck, right? That can't be if they're running Kahira. So it's an Elementals deck, I guess. Either way, like we want these card advantagey, grindy hands that can interact a little bit. Counterspell, Archmage's Charm. Just take the Archmage's Charm. We'll just play around Counterspell like crazy. Archmage's Charm can take our Saga tokens away. See what our opponent's doing. Raven's Crime would be a great draw here. Chalice on 1. Well, we are going to make them wish that they had left their chalice at home. We are going to get them. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And it's going to be hilarious. Just you wait. We're going to turn that chalice on 1 to a chalice on 0. Let's see. We do have the main deck Hex Parasite, correct? We do. Because I know it's in our 75. We do have a main deck Hex Parasite. This will be genuinely fun. I don't think our opponent's ready for what's getting ready to happen to him. Do you all? Like, how many of you in your entire existence have ever had a Hex Parasite make your chalice on 1 bogus? It does not happen very much. Which I don't know how important it'll be in this game, but just the fact we can do it, I find to be pretty funny. So how is our opponent? Oh, it's Kahira. I thought it was Karuga. Well, that makes more sense. So this is just a blue-white. This is just a 5-color blue-white control deck is what this is. Okay. So our Fatal Push does have a target. That's nice. So, unfortunately, we do have to, if we want to for sure get rid of this chalice, we do have to play the swamp, which is pretty hilarious interaction here. Just be like, give me that. Unlock all my 1-drops again. Because if we don't play the swamp, they could technically like leyline binding us in response. It's more fun to proliferate the chalice, but that should be worth the price of admission alone, right there. Is just getting to Hex Parasite away a Chalice of the Void. And now they're in a tough spot because like we really like don't care about counter magic at this point at all. Like we're just gonna play our next Urza Saga here. And if they do want to play something into our creatures, I mean we'll interact with them. So just hardcast Solitude, that's fine. We're gonna do something weird here. So we are gonna let this happen. So we're going to want to resolve this Liliana. How we're going to do that is exile. Let's exile the Fatal Push. I don't think we'll. Yeah, I think that's perfect. So we can kill the Solitude. Go ahead and get in there. Hex Parasite can do this fun thing too, where it can turn your Liliana into a fireball, which is pretty hilarious. So yeah, we're going to uptick, probably get rid of the Bloodchief's Thirst on our end, in case there's another Chalice. But if there is another Chalice, we don't care. But the Murderous Rider being at instant speed, killing more cards, or killing the same amount of cards for 1 mana less at instant speed is what we want. Seems like a very silly hand for us, but I do think we have them kind of on the ropes here. Like they were very. Oh, we got them. Like it's just we were gonna pick their hand apart with the Liliana. They couldn't handle it. Played around the what they have going on pretty well. This will be interesting. So this is the first matchup that I think we don't want spell bombs, and we definitely don't want the fatal pushes, right? So we easily want the 3 Tourachs and the 2 Karn, Scion, of Urza. So this is the part that I was interested in. I'm not sure if now it's better to play a second Pithing Needle main deck or to play the Obosh main deck for another threat. And I'm going to reason through this just a little bit. I think that I think that the Obosh gives us a little bit more threat density, and it seems so odd to play a 5 mana spell that is not a good card on its own, just like as a regular card like this in your main deck. But I think it's worth it for this specific matchup, just to have extra threat. Okay, this is a cupable hand. We'll ship back the Peatland in case there's some nonsense going on out of them. So notably, we still will likely Thoughtseize away a Chalice given the opportunity in case they're running cards like Spreading Seas and the like. That also allows us to play our Urza Saga a little bit slower. Prismatic Ending, Memory Deluge. Okay, so Memory Deluge is worth remembering because that means that they have some graveyard synergy, so it might be worth to keep the 1 Spellbomb in or bring in the relics or something of the like. I'm not a huge fan of Relic, simply because, like, unless it's hard graveyard hate in the same way Leyline is, simply because of our Raven's Crime. Okay, so nothing new. I am surprised they didn't just go ahead and play the Flooded Strand out here. I'm going to use this rack as bait. I definitely don't care if they counterspell the rack. In this spot, I mean, because we have the Urza Saga, it's just. It's not going to do anything for a while, probably, so. It is interesting. So, this hand in particular feels like it would be really good against them with like smallpox and things like that. That we could just really grind them out. This feels like the old school like Rack and Raven's Crime and smallpox and get them that way games that we're looking for. I do miss. There's been times where I've missed smallpox playing it. It's hard to play the card with Urza Saga, and that's just kind of the reality of where we're at. I think we're okay with just taking this incremental damage. Not taking the Memory Deluge might have been a mistake. Okay, they discard the island. So we did know about both of those islands. So now we know Hollowed Fountain, Memory Deluge. Notably, Dress Down is particularly good against us in this matchup. So are we shocking in to play the Memory Deluge more than likely? We're in a good spot here, though. We have both the Saga and the Karn here as threats. If they're going to fire off a counterspell that quickly, okay, that's fine. So now we know they did play the Hallowed Fountain. Do they have a second? So it's just Memory Deluge and one unknown. They do just pretty easily lose to a Resolved Planeswalker, I think, in this matchup. So smart decision of theirs to go ahead and counter that. Okay, so Memory Deluge, one unknown once again. Thoughtseize would be a great draw here. Not so lucky, but that's fine. We could have Raven's Crime there. I think we're all right. Like, there's no point where Raven's Crime gets us ahead here. I don't think. I think we want to make our land drops for this Castle Lochtwain. I think that's our way to lock this game up. We probably just get a second Urza Saga through the expedition map next turn. So we're going to Leyline Binding. They're probably just Leylining the rack. I mean, like that's fair. That's the one threat that's in play currently. Urza Saga is such a good card against control decks. If they're playing like a Jace or something like that, oh, it's just Kira to hand. I was gonna say they're tapping a lot of blue there. So if they're playing like a Jace or something like that, we might get a Pithing Needle instead. But yeah, we're not playing Fatal Push. There's no point in, right? We side those out completely. Yeah, we did. There's the 4 Fatal Pushes. Okay. To our draw step here. That's perfect. We'll just play this. Just get the expedition map. Get in for 3. There's a chance that we get solituded or dressed down, something of the sort, but so dress down, okay. Well, not too surprised. Dress down is I love playing Urza Saga decks, right? Dress down that was a needed printing in this format. Control decks wouldn't be able to handle the value from Urza Saga if they didn't print a card that cantrip like that. It gives them a way to just not lose the game on the spot. So unlike other people, maybe I'm completely fine with the fact that card exists. Oh, this gives me a lot of information. This is good. Let's go ahead and Thoughtseize. The question is, if you have a counter spell, do you counter now, or do you try to save your counter spell for whatever threat that I might be trying to hide here at hand? Opponent just elects to counterspell now. That's fine. Let's. Yeah, we can crack one time. We might as well. Okay. They probably just have a second dressed out, I'm guessing. The only shame is of, not you either have to naturally draw the Urza sagas is really the only downside of the Hex Parasite. It'd be great if you get a Hex Parasite and like somehow save the saga from sacrificing while the Hex Parasite was on the battlefield, but you just don't have that choice. Okay. Another card. Let's see what our most powerful standalone card will be. I do think it's I do think it's the Hex Parasite here. And we'll try to equip the Shadowspear. I'm sure we're just getting dressed down again. But, or maybe we get Hardcast Solituded. That's a possibility as well. But I don't think the Rack's going to take us home this game. Well, no response, just take 5. Makes me think that maybe they don't have it. Not sure what they're not playing the Kahira for, unless it's just a Supreme Verdict. Which very well may be the case. Just a Supreme Verdict. Don't slow roll me now. Looks like that's what it is. It's just a Supreme Verdict. That makes more sense with them not playing the Kahira, and then maybe you do get the Rack in that spot. All right, opponent. I was gonna say, I know how to tap Supreme Verdict. Come on. I'm sure they did too. I don't know what was happening there. Okay. Let's draw. uh, we'll play the land. Let's keep a mana advantage so that Lochtwain gets a little bit better. It'll be interesting. I'm not sure what cards they run that like card advantage wise on their end. We're gonna find out, I'm sure. Is it a Teferi? It's a Teferi. There's no need in digging for anything else, I don't think. We have a march to kill the Teferi. Oh, here's a tough one. So, let's see. So we have to do 5, so we can do just 1, 2, 3. That's not good enough right now. That's unfortunate because like it would be nice to be able to play around a counterspell or something in this spot. At least we have 2 cracks at it here. Oh, I think this is the thing we want to do this turn. This will absolutely require a counterspell if they have it. Wow, it does resolve. We did get both their white cards. They might have more white cards at hand than that. Let's turn off auto yield, see if we get the Shadowspear equipped. Because we can't. There's no reason not to. Maybe we can ride this Tourach to victory. We'll see. Ironically, like this deck appears to be a 5-color deck because of all the triumphs, etc. it runs, but not running the Kahira is different. We're not just going and playing it out. I guess maybe they're thinking that they had the Leyline Binding to play. Now every time I Raven's Crime, my Tourach gets a little bit bigger, so that's something to note. So they're going to dress down, get rid of the protection, got it, and then they're going to kill it. Hopefully that means the shields are like way down for me to kill the Teferi then. Okay. I mean, if they had the counter spell, I think they would have countered the Tourach there. I don't think they would have let it be like a 4 for 2 like it is right now. The real question is like, is there any danger I think we have to cast the March on our turn so that they can't go flashback Memory Deluge into counterspell. Okay, now are they just finally playing the Kahira? Like, there's no illusion that they have a counterspell anymore. Maybe they think there is. I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Oh, so they're just not doing it so that they can flash back the deluge now. That makes sense. Two, three, four, five, six, seven. Two, two, three, four, five. Hmm. So I'm gonna have to pitch the second March either way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Uh, this gives me exactly. Okay, so hopefully 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They should tap out for deluge here. And we'll let them choose the cards they want. So maybe that's what we have to do, is that have a stop at this end step. Because we're going to have to pitch the marches no matter what, the second march no matter what, or that the fairy wouldn't die. So we may as well. Okay, so now they've. So that might have been why earlier. Sorry, I'm kind of talking to myself a little bit here, but it makes more sense to me now why earlier today it didn't give me the opportunity to yield at my instep. We're still probably in trouble with the flashback deluge, but at least we have a chance here. Okay, just spreading sees my Lochtwain. That's fine. Well, it's not fine. It's not. It's definitely not a good thing, but can't really do anything about it though. Lochtwain is definitely our way to stay in the game. Okay, the Kahira. We know we're kind of getting to the end game of their card advantage when they're willing to play the Kahira, so that's pretty good. So we have no. They're spreading seas one unknown from them as far as what they kept. Let's go ahead and cycle this. Now we're not playing the keep a ton of mana game. That also means that like it's alright to just Raven's Crime here. Discard of the Windswept Teeth. I doubt that that's something they kept off the Memory Deluge. We are going to name Teferi Hero. Or oof. Let's name Teferi Time Raveler, actually. I think that's the card that they're more likely to have more copies of. And it can it can neutralize. It's the first one to Pithing Needle if you're going to Pithing Needle one, in my opinion. Do you have a second Memory Deluge? That would be rough. These deluges are stacking up pretty fast. Our opponent is not in the best shape, but like I said, Deluge is a obscenely good Magic card, so okay, they're just going to get in for 3, I'm guessing. So odd that this card has vigilance. I'm not sure why it does. I don't have anything against that it has vigilance. It's just a weird thing to kind of plug onto the card. So would love to see a Tourach here. We're not going to see that right now, though. We're definitely at the point of the game where we've probably already lost. But when the difference between a 3-2 and a 2-3 is in the balance, like we're gonna make sure that this game's played out. Like there's no reason not to. The fact that they discarded the prismatic ending is extremely like we know we've almost definitely lost this game because that card is so good against our board state right now. It's not even funny. So memory deluge flashback again. That was just kind of letting our opponent, take however long they want to take this game and show it. Really, like there's function to it. If they're willing to show us more of their deck list as well. I mean, we've already shown them like most of the secrets of ours. So okay, getting in there for 3. Our turn again. And we're just going to keep. This isn't giving them any new information. It's draining their clock, giving us more information for game 3. Just going to keep doing it. I know it's not the most fun thing to watch, but see if they have anything to speed up their clock, like a hard cast solitude. Okay. Doesn't really even substantially speed up their clock. So we know they have had at least 2 dress downs this game. Is that correct? So 1 dress down, 2 dress down. They're not a deck that we can afford to like sideboard out cards the way that we could. Oh, sorry, this does give this. This turns it into a 2-turn clock. I'm not sure how petty I want to be if I want to make them attack again if I don't have anything, but. Okay, just a counter spell. All right, we'll concede. We won't make them attack just so they don't. We'll just see if they want to do anything at our end step here. No, we're not going to make a fight for 2 or 3 seconds, but they'd already F2'd passed through there, so they were just going to go straight to our turn. I do think we want the second Pithing Needle. Let's just get rid of the Obosh. The more I've learned about their deck list, I don't think that the Obosh main deck is going to do it for us regardless. Let's not be on the play. Well, that was good because we're definitely going to mulligan this hand. This is not a particularly good hand either, but that's where we're at. There's only so many hands you can mulligan in this matchup. Just letting our opponents know that I chose to play second. We're going to. This is tricky. I do think we take the chalice. Oh, this is tough, actually. Yeah, I think we take the chalice. Yeah, I'm at the point in my Magic Online existence that I don't want. I'm sick of getting cheap games and me choosing the draw and our opponent, getting punished for that. Like, just gonna play as straight up as I can as far as that goes and try to stop. I tried to set a stop just in case they didn't see, but they did see. I don't think we get rid of the land here to try to get rid of a counterspell or anything like that. We just play our worst card. Like we'll play Liliana the Veil into the counter magic on a later turn. We play it out that way. Just I don't want to miss land drops is the big thing. We're the beatdown of the matchup, but tough. Let's like there's no world that they just counter the Murderous Rider. And I think they probably just crack off Counterspell, not Archmage's Charm here. It's more mana efficient to crack off the Archmage's Charm, but I want to be able to save the Swift in for a Teferi. Like our card disadvantage is not nearly as important as their card advantage, if that makes sense. Okay, Archmage's Charm. We know that Leyline Binding's gone, Hallowed Fountain's gone, Counterspell gone, Misty gone. So Archmage's Charm, two unknowns. They're definitely not willing to put shields down yet. Land would be great. Get a land. We're not willing to go shields down yet either. There's no point in slamming the second spell into the known counter spell. They probably just draw two off this. Yeah, that's the correct choice, I think. So there's the Teferi. Let's take the dress down. The dress down is better against us long term. Hopefully they slam the Teferi here, and we can Murderous Rider it on their turn. That would be the best thing that could happen. Or Swift end it. Come on, just slam the Teferi. Go shields down one time. Yeah. Okay, so this is good for us. If we can Swift in this Teferi and also be able to resolve the Karn and resolve our own card advantage now. Okay. There's the Teferi. There's no decision to be made here, so in case for whatever reason they do have like a Force of Negation post sideboard or something, we Swift end in response to the draw. So Archmage's Charm gone. We know about the Prismatic ending. Prismatic ending two unknown. I mean, there's definitely a chance that there's a counter spell hiding in there. Okay, that's just good beats. That gives us two ways to generate a threat here. Generate one construct. This will demand an answer like pretty quickly. The combination of these two magic cards. Good old card sign of Urza. That's why I played this card specifically, is for these random control matchups that you still get. That was definitely the best time to jam there. They could have had a counter spell, but I didn't. It didn't seem like they had one. I think we don't. Um, we don't activate Urza Saga before combat here, in case they do have a dress down or something like that. That's pretty great if they figure out a way to answer this Karn. – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – –– – –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– –– – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – – It's not worth 1 damage to get blown out by a dress down. Or even like a... So if they do... So for example, if they Solitude Exile with the intention of block, then we can do it. But that really isn't like a very... Like, they've got 4 minutes on the clock. That's not really a winning line for them. To go like 0 for 0 with us all game. Karn usually is like the card usually just says make every land drop after you tick it up a couple times. That's a pretty powerful card for them. Let's see. They do Deluge. This is definitely a matchup too where like the rack itself, it can win games, but the rack without smallpox against blue-white control is almost useless. Like smallpox is really the thing that kind of brings the deck together. Okay, so they're going to take the Karn Scion, I'm sure. Maybe they're trying to bait out like me to do something, but we're going to wait to the end step, and then we'll make the Saga token. There's no reason not to. We're not holding anything else up, but we are kind of presenting lethal, so that's something to think about. Um, hmm. I think actually we just float the mana here. Get the expedition map. Let's make them have it here. This isn't actually lethal, but like they don't know that I can't generate lethal maybe, so instead of slamming the Scion this turn, so here comes the dress down probably. Could just be a hard cast Solitude, which is also fine. If it is hard cast Solitude, I think we just play Karn and tick it up. Or tick it down again, I mean. That's fine. Like I said, this is just not, with 3 minutes on the clock, this is not a winning strategy for them. And then they trade, I'm sure, yep. Now we just slam again. Shields down once again. Because that 2-for-1 lets me know that they're not playing as if they have a dress down in hand right now. That doesn't mean that they won't draw one off the next turn or two, but at least as of this moment, they don't have one. Opponent is not playing like someone that has 2 minutes on the clock, though. I can tell you that they're definitely taking their time. And this is why you go ahead and you make the control players play it out. I fully believe the punishment for control players for wasting the opponent's time so much is that it genuinely can cost them the game. Like I think it's perfectly acceptable to the chess clock is there for a reason. It's not okay. That's actually pretty fine. Like I'm not crazy worried about that, which I knew they had that, but so we're gonna attack first. No, we can't. We can't attack first, can we? We do have to down tick and create this because we don't want to get to the point where that solitude block and chunk wins them the game outright. So attack for 6. Okay, they just concede. Sorry that they definitely wasted my time a lot there at the end, and your consequently your time. But 3-2 league. It absolutely could have been a 4-1 or 5-0. That's just the beat sometimes. But thank y'all for watching. I'm not going to make this video any longer than I have to, and y'all keep racking.